In an earlier video, we looked at 6 career records that could be broken by someone playing today. Today we're going to look at 9 records that may never be broken. How do we determine something may never be broken? Well, did a test taking the league leader in a stat in 2019, adding the league leader in 2018, 2017, and so on until the record was broken. Doing this method, the 6 breakable stats in the previous video all range from 11 years in the case of sacrifice flies to 19 years in the case of walks to set a new record. But what stats took over 20 years? What records in today's game are the most difficult and in some cases impossible to break? Counting down the top 9 most unbreakable career records in baseball after the intro. Number 9, coming in at 20 years, 4,256 hits by Pete Rose. If someone were to have a 20-year career, they would have to average 213 hits a year to break a record. In the last 7 seasons, a player has only reached 213 hits 3 times. 213 by Charlie Blackmon in 2017, Mookie Betts with 214 in 2016, and Jose Altuve with 216 in 2016. The days of players getting over 220 hits in a season, something we saw with players like Wade Boggs, Tony Gwynn, Michael Young, and Paul Molitor, may have ended with the retirement of Ichiro Suzuki. One may make the argument, well, Ichiro wasn't that long ago. If a player like him came into the majors at an earlier age, instead of age 27 like Ichiro did, they could break the record. To illustrate how Ichiro may not have reached Rose's numbers, from his debut at age 27 until he got 3,000 hits in his age 42 season, Ichiro had 3,030 total hits. From age 27 to age 42, Pete Rose had 3,091 hits. Looking at even the most prolific hitter that we've seen in the last 35 years, someone who is leaps and bounds ahead of his contemporaries in getting a hit, he still comes up short to Rose's production when controlling for age. With the focus on home runs and getting on base through walks taking over in today's game, it's questionable if we'll ever see someone rack up hits like Ichiro, let alone have the extreme longevity of Pete Rose. I don't know if anyone will ever reach 4,000 hits again, something only done by Pete Rose and Ty Cobb in the 150-year history of baseball, let alone pass Rose's 4,256. Number 8, at 21 years, is pitching strikeouts held by Nolan Ryan with 5,714. This one is a little strange, because unlike pitching strikeouts, hitting strikeouts is one of the most breakable records. Strikeouts are happening at higher rates than we've ever seen, so you'd think this one would be in reach. However, on the pitching side, while strikeout rates are higher than they've ever been, pitcher usage is way more specialized than it's been in the past. This is something we'll see a lot as we get further along on this list, but pitchers don't pitch nearly as many innings season to season like they did when Nolan Ryan was pitching. Nolan Ryan had 367 strikeouts in 322 2/3 innings in 1972. Compared to the league leader in strikeouts in 2021, Robbie Ray had 248 strikeouts in 193 1/3 innings. He had 119 fewer strikeouts in 119 1/3 fewer innings. Add in Nolan Ryan's extreme longevity and good health, where he had over 20 starts in 25 different seasons, and you have veteran pitchers like Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, and Zach Greinke, all over the age of 36, still over 2,500 strikeouts away from Ryan's record. To put that in perspective, John Lester, who has had a very good 16-year career, still hasn't reached 2,500 strikeouts. Clayton Kershaw made news in 2015 as the first pitcher to reach 300 strikeouts in a season since Randy Johnson and Curt Schilling in 2002. He would have to do that for 19 seasons straight to pass Nolan Ryan. Since then, Garrett Cole, Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, and Chris Sale also had seasons with 300 strikeouts, but none of them have managed to do it twice, let alone 19 seasons in a row. This record is safe for the foreseeable future, if not forever. Number 7, at 22 years, is 309 triples by Sam Crawford. This is unbreakable today mostly due to the changes in how stadiums are built. Back in the early 1900s when Sam Crawford played, stadium dimensions were downright wonky. Nearly half his career triples came at Bennett Park and later Navin Field in Detroit, Both had some irregular shapes in the outfield that created an odd 420-foot left center field dimension in Bennett Park and a ridiculous 440 center field distance at Navin Field. He also had a number of triples at Comiskey Park in Chicago, which opened with 362-foot distance down the lines and 420 in center. These early stadium dimensions absolutely dwarf stadiums today, with only Coors Field coming close at 347 feet down the line and 415 feet in center, but that is due to the elevation in Denver creating thinner air, meaning the deep fences are counteracting that the ball flies further there. There are still a couple oddities like Triples Alley in San Francisco, but nothing like the extreme dimensions that were commonplace in the early days of baseball, especially after the removal of Tal's Hill in Houston. Add in that the game has changed with players valuing home run power over triples, and it makes sense that the active leader in triples, Dexter Fowler with 82, is only a fourth of the way to Crawford's mark. Number 6 at 23 years is 1,406 stolen bases by Rickey Henderson. D. Strange Gordon is the active leader with 333 career steals. Here's Rickey Henderson. From 1980 to 1983, he had 394 steals in a 4-year period. He played for another 21 seasons, putting his career total here. Even for his time period, Henderson absolutely blew away the competition with almost 500 more stolen bases than the second place spot, Lou Brock with 938. Add in that stolen bases have gone way down in the last 2 decades, and you get facts like Rickey Henderson's 130 stolen bases in 1982 were more than any team in 2021, with the Royals coming the closest at 124. Since Henderson retired in 2003, the highest single-season total has been Jose Reyes with 78 in 2007. Henderson beat that mark 6 times in his career. Nobody has passed 50 stolen bases in the last 4 years. Unless there are some drastic changes to the rules of baseball to encourage stolen bases, I don't know if anyone will ever reach half of Henderson's stolen base mark again. Number 5 at 24 years is 511 wins by Cy Young. This is going to be a theme for most of the remaining stats, but pitcher usage in baseball today is completely different than Cy Young's era. Cy Young had over 20 wins 14 years straight, with 4 seasons over 30 wins. The last time someone had 30 wins in a season was Danny McLean in 1968, over 50 years ago. 20-win seasons still happen sporadically, with Verlander, Wainwright, and Kershaw all with 2 in their careers, but we haven't seen back-to-back 20-win seasons since Curt Schilling and Randy Johnson 20 years ago. Wins is an archaic stat that is highly dependent on how often a starter pitches, which Cy Young used to pitch on 3 days rest. Today's pitchers pitch on a minimum of 4 days rest. Wins are also dependent on how deep into games a pitcher goes. Cy Young averaged 8.63 innings per start. The leader in 2021 in wins, Julio Urias, only averaged 5.8 innings per start. Interestingly, if a team wanted to get a player to break the record, it could happen. With how wins are assigned, a team could switch to an opener strategy with a dedicated follower that only pitches when the team is leading. Someone did an experiment in Out of the Park with Phil Koch's career where they did just that. They outline their strategy here. I will then manually play each game. If a team has the lead with 2 outs in the 5th inning, I will pull the starting pitcher and insert Koch for the 3rd out. And that's it. As long as the bullpen doesn't blow the game, Phil Koch gets the win. Doing this strategy, they were able to get Phil Koch 577 wins in only 14 seasons, with the highest season reaching 54 wins. Now, it's fun to do that in Out of the Park, but no team would ever conceivably implement a strategy like this. Not only would it be a suboptimal strategy, but it would probably piss off their starting pitchers quite a bit. The closest we have had to this is the Tampa Bay Rays with Ryan Yarbrough in 2018 and 2019. The Rays were the first team to really run with an opener strategy, and Yarbrough was their main long relief guy to come in if the game was either close or the Rays were winning. In those 2 seasons, Yarbrough had 22 wins and only 46 relief appearances. Now, he still started 20 games as well those seasons, so the Rays weren't fully committed to this type of usage. But assuming they were, and the Rays pitched Yarbrough like this every 4th day or so, you could easily have a 20-plus win season with a reliever. However, no team is likely to ever commit a player to this type of usage, let alone for a whole career. So it's probably just going to remain a hypothetical way to reach 512 wins. Since it isn't going to happen, and since starter usage is so different from Cy Young's era, his record will most likely remain safe forever. Number 4 at 29 years is 512 sacrifice hits by Eddie Collins. This is another record that is safe due to the changing strategy in baseball. The sacrifice bunt has nearly been eliminated from the game other than when pitchers are batting. In fact, the active career leader in sacrifice hits is a pitcher, Clayton Kershaw, with 110. The analytics have spoken, and in the vast majority of cases, if you have a somewhat respectable hitter at the plate, giving up an out simply to move runners just isn't worth it. Now, there are some exceptions, especially with the implementation of the Manfred runner in extra innings that have increased sacrifice hits slightly, but the days of guys like Eddie Collins, a second baseman with a career 142 OPS plus, having 40 sacrifice hits in a season are gone. Even saying that stat right now just sounds ridiculous to ask a player with a career 424 on-base percentage to willingly create an out 512 times. The players that do the bunting now are either pitchers who only play every 5th game and usually only see 2 or 3 plate appearances when they do play, or guys that aren't very good with the bat, who don't tend to have very long careers. If the universal DH is implemented, we may see another drastic decrease in sacrifice bunts. I can't see any conceivable way any player in the future even comes close to Eddie Collins' mark. Number 3, also at 29 years, is 110 shutouts by Walter Johnson. It's going to sound redundant, but the last 3 records on this list are all related to starting pitcher usage. The game has just changed that much that there's no way these records will ever be reached. The methodology to get 29 years to break the shutout record also ignores that shutouts were way more common in the 90s and early 2000s than they are today. You would see pitchers with 4, 5, or 6 shutouts a year in those seasons. Now, in 2021, the league leader was 2. In 2019, the league leader was 2. In 2018, the league leader was 1. Walter Johnson had 11 in a single season. Only one active player has more than 11 in their career, Clayton Kershaw with 15. I'm going to lump the last 2 records together as they're related. Number 2 at 30 years is 7,356 innings pitched by Cy Young. And number 1 at a staggering 52 years is 749 complete games by Cy Young. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but starting pitcher usage just isn't the same as it was in Cy Young's era. Cy Young had 48 complete games in 1892. The last time a player even started that many games in a season was Wilbur Wood in 1973. Adam Wainwright leads all active players with 27 career complete games, which is only 3.6% of the way to the record. Zach Greinke is the active leader in innings pitched with 3,110, which is only 42% of the way to the record. I don't even know what else to say. Cy Young, along with having an award named after him, is going to remain in the record books for multiple career marks till the end of baseball itself. Wins, innings pitched, and complete games really have no chance of ever being bested. So what are your thoughts? Leave a comment, subscribe, turn on notifications, eat a well-balanced diet, exercise and stay in shape, call your mother, all those good things. But most importantly, subscribe. Thanks.